Hi, I'm going to show you how to make planets. You might have seen my other video where I had planets and it looked like we had inverse magnets, which yes, they were inverse magnets, but those aren't officially supported in the game. And so today I'm going to teach you how to get those in the editor. So first off, I'm just going to create a new course. Make sure to set your document location so that it'll actually create a file there. And I'm just going to go ahead and set parallax in the background. Otherwise, it looked kind of silly without, just with a grass theme. And so you got a blank slate. What do you do first? So what you're probably going to want to do is set down a magnet, and it's just a normal magnet. You might think, well, you can just set this to negative. Well, no, that doesn't work. It sets it to 0 because it cannot support any magnet under 0 visually. We won't set it in the editor. So, well, okay, how do you set this in, or how do you actually set it to negative? Well, what you're going to want to do is save it first. So let's call this example.ssd4x. And you want to right-click it and press Show Package Contents. You want to open up level0.list with any text editor you have. Then look for the magnet node, which usually this would be flooded if you had any other stuff like terrain objects, but this is blank, so you can just kind of see it. You can see that it says strength 0. You're going to want to change that to something negative, like negative 50. Save. Don't close out of your text editor, by the way. It's actually easier to keep it open. Go back to your hole, and you'll see a glitchy mess. But it's still functional. But you get soft locks because, as you can see, the outer edge is actually like a normal magnet. It's inverse, so the outer edge is kind of pulling you in very slightly. And then inside of it is like a black hole. You're just stuck there. It's a soft lock, which is not exactly ideal. However, I'll show you how to fix that later. Right now, you want to fix the graphical bug, because that looks pretty weird. So I'm just going to go ahead and save this and quit out of it. I'm going to go into my text editor, and what I'm going to do here is go ahead and change the radius to negative 125. Save that. Open it back up. Well, what's going to happen here? By the way, before I show you, if you take a look at the magnet, it'll look like they're both at the minimum numbers that they can handle, but in reality they're both negative. So just ignore the editor, it's giving you false info. Fake news, guys. So as you can see, it's pretty much invisible. But it works the exact same. It's a little strange, but it works to our benefit. What I'm going to do is put in a planet real quick, or just a circle. That's all planets are. And I'm not sure if this is big enough. Just barely. What you might have just noticed is that gravity took priority there. What you're going to want to do is set the gravity to 0. However, I would not recommend setting the gravity to 0 because it's possible to soft lock yourself. But it does solve the planet's gravity problem. And so what I would suggest doing here is actually setting the gravity to 1. Because when you're 0 gravity, it does not work like the moon ball in the game. You keep going forever because it's like actually space. There's no gravity. And so if you at least have 1 gravity, you will not be pulled to the bottom. And it'll actually work like a normal planet. And so that's the compromise you're going to have to make for fair gameplay. Otherwise, it's just going to be really weird. You're going to have a lot of complications. So, first things first. Problems with the planet. Number 1, tunnel. You can still get soft locked in the middle. Number 2, there's a really weird problem with moonball. Why this happens, I don't know. But you'll basically get soft locked. Sometimes this will happen where it'll work properly, but usually it'll just kind of show infinite cooldown and it will never go. And so there's rare cases where you get the sweet spot where it does not soft lock you, which is ideal but hard to get. And so if you're not able to, because it's tedious to open up the editor, or rather open up a text editor and keep changing it until you get a right value, you're probably just going to want to put sticky around it, and maybe that, or put something that will kill you if you're in one spot for too long, like a saw, or maybe a magnet that pushes you. For now, I'm just going to put sticky around it, and I'm going to add a linear rotation action that lasts 5 seconds that spins by 360 degrees. Okay, cool. Now what I'm going to do next is put in a reference which shall show me how I need to do the strokes, because in order to get this to actually look like an actual object, you're going to need to put in manual strokes, which is in the editor. And I'm just going to erase the sticky so I can actually see it pretty well. And so the first things first, you need to just select your pattern, which I'm going to select the moon pattern from the Space Course. And I'm going to select the color to be this color, because I'm just trying to recreate that. And it might look like it's just kind of there. It's, you need to change down the opacity, kind of make it look like what it looks like in there. Just kind of eyeball it. Just the same color again. Put in the depth. Eyeball it. Just kind of, oops. Just kind of change the opacity. Okay, sorry. Wrong one. Change the opacity. It's going to go ahead and make it look like it belongs. Make the last one no opacity and be the border. I'm sure you might be familiar with this already, although for anyone who is not, I'm just explaining it. I'm going to go ahead and set this color but darker. Alright, it looks kind of darker though with this outline. And now as you can see, it looks very similar to this. And so I'm just going to go ahead and delete my reference now because I don't exactly need it. And there we go. This is starting to look pretty good, despite the fact that there's not really an actual magnet thing coming out of it. Okay, so what next? Well, Noodle Cake has their own magnet texture. I actually had to open it up into an editor, or a particle editor, which, by the way, explanation, this supports Cocos 2D particle systems. Look that up if you're not aware what those are, but it is basically a particle, or a particle emitter. And so they have their own particle for in-game magnets, which is, like, it's part of the game. However, I edited it and made one that can be placed in the editor. And this is a very low resolution ring. I will include this in the description, but you're going to want to include the bigger resolution ring. And there we go. Just kind of place that right where the magnet is, and it actually looks like it was meant to be there. So that's pretty cool. Okay, next step. This is also something I made, which is essentially just the gravity field box, but turned into a circle. And I do this for effect, give you kind of a visual effect of where the gravity field, or rather, gravity is, even though it's just a magnet. It's not really going to make a sound, it's just visual. And there. It looks like a planet. And you can fix the moonball problem with sticky. However, the tunnel problem still remains. Now, instinctively, you might just decide to put an acid object in there, which might work most of the time. However, Golf Blitz also has a bug where it will ignore acid. So the best solution for this is actually not to use a shield, to use a saw. So what you're going to want to do is just set that at the minimum. And then get the X and Y position of your magnet and just kind of set the saw to that. So that's 512, or rather 521, 547. Save, and then get out of it. Go to your text editor, look up saw, and you can actually name nodes like kill saw nodes in-game, or pretty much any node. So if you're having trouble identifying where they are, you got multiple, just name them and then look them up in the text editor. So I'm at the kill saw node, and I'm just going to set the radius to 0. What that's going to do for us is it's going to give us an invisible saw. Not only is it invisible in the editor, it's invisible in game too, and you can really only see it when you enable the debug to see the actual things, or rather the actual collisions. And so now we try to tunnel inside of it, you die, which is good. That's what we want. You can't get soft locked anymore. But there's one other big problem. If I want to tunnel through the planet, you can do that. However, there's a little too much of a pull. So if you try to do this as a level 1 player, you die. And, well, you might think you might only want level 50 players to do it. Well, I just want to keep this a little more fair. So, in order to keep this a little more accessible with Tunnel Ball, and actually, before I do this, I'm going to demonstrate with a much higher power of magnet. So if I get the magnet, let's set this radius to about 175. This can actually become inescapable for even, and actually I'm going to set that to 100, and I'm going to set this to 175. And so this can actually become inescapable death for anyone. And so this might be good for big planets. We want more pull. As you can see, this will actually probably pull me in a lot sooner. I'm probably going to want to make this much bigger. And so now you can see it will pull you in much sooner. However, it's inescapable death. How do you fix that? Well, the solution's actually quite simple. This is an inwards magnet. And it might come as a surprise, but outwards magnets actually cancel inwards magnets. And I can do a demonstration real quick. If you put this at maybe 2 strength at 50 radius, or rather, let's have this at the strength is 100, so you need it at 100 strength, and then put it exactly where it is with a radius of 50. You'll see you don't get soft locked anymore. What kind of magic is this? Well, as you can see, the magnet in the middle is canceling the inwards magnet. And there's a 50 radius that it actually cancels it. But the other problem with this is, dun dun dun, Moonball. Oh, actually, let me remove that saw. That's somewhere else. That is 0 or something. As you can see, Moonball is when it gets again. Dun dun dun. Our perpetrator. and you can actually get soft locked here. If it stops moving, you'll get soft locked. Even if it does or doesn't move, you'll permanently get soft locked. So you might think, well, come on, they're not gonna. There's a saw in the middle. How are they gonna get soft locked? Well, they can still get soft locked if two people happen to bump into each other at the middle at the same time. And so the solution to that is actually to make the magnet, the positive cancel magnet, 2 under what the negative magnet is, but at a positive level. So the negative magnet is at negative 100. Just kind of pretend that's at 100 and put this at 98. And so that should at least create basically what is a magnet of 100, negative 100 strength in here, and a magnet would of negative 2 strength in here. And so if that doesn't make sense, here's in the gameplay terms. You can actually tunnel through it now. And you cannot get soft locked. You will be pulled in towards the middle if for some reason, I'll actually demonstrate that right now. If for some reason you got inside the little radius and try to do that, well, you would either get put inside the saw or you'd be put inside this. But no matter what, you would always be pulled in towards the middle, and that is the point. So, tunnel ball is the main problem here, main troublemaker. And so, as you can see, a planet is made up of the planet, the visual, a magnet, an inwards magnet, an invisible saw, and a particle emitter. Also, one last thing before I stop. Particle emitter, if you want this to be a little bigger, or you want to change the lifespan or anything about it, you can just actually change it in the editor. You don't need a particle editor on your Mac or something. You can just change it like this. And so, we now have a working planet. And if for some reason you don't want the outwards magnet to show the outwards animation, you can just change that in the text editor. So if I go to magnet, just type in magnet, change the radius to negative 50. And so what that will do is actually hide it in-game so that there is a positive magnet that's also hidden. And voila! You now have your own planet. Hope you guys enjoyed, and hope this helps you.